So there's a few things I really need to talk to you guys about today. I wasn't going to do any postings, and I have to work in like an hour, so don't mind me. I'm using my phone. But first I want to start out by putting these theories out, and I want to make it a tribute to my late husband, Patrick. He was an avid, avid Zelda fan. He had a big Triforce on his bicep, and I feel like he would honestly love to see the ideas everybody's been putting out about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and the entire, Zelda franchise, because he was a big fan. Probably bigger than almost anybody except me. So I want to give my shout outs to Zetlink, Switch Force, Sunbro Nation, Nintendo Prime, and my favorite, Commonwealth Realm, because you guys honestly have given me the courage to put my ideas forth. I know a lot of people have theories about how the new Zelda game is going to go. I have a few of my own that haven't been put on the internet yet, and I feel like if I put them out there, maybe somebody can either agree or disagree. And I'm going to start with an unpopular opinion before I put these theories out there. My unpopular opinion is that I really, really wish Tears of the Kingdom had remained a DLC. For the simple fact is we put 500,000 million hours into Breath of the Wild. And the thing of it is that we are going to lose all of that data starting over in a new game. And that's fine. We're all excited about it. But honestly, once I found out that it was meant to be a DLC before it meant to be a second game, I was really a little upset just because I had been looking for another DLC since Champ's Ballad. And I couldn't find one, and it was really upsetting me. And then I find out Tears of the Kingdom was supposed to be a DLC, and it could have been out like 5 years ago. Now we're 5 years into development, and I'm just like, okay, so I'm going to lose my Master Sword, which we all know we're going to lose it because it's going to break. I'm going to lose my Hylian Shield that I had to fight a Stelnox for in the middle of the freaking dungeons of Hyrule Castle. I'm going to lose all my hearts. All of them. And I have like almost 20. I have 18. No, 20 hearts. Something. I can't remember. I think it's 18 to 20. And I just really wish it would have stayed a DLC. We put so much work and effort into Breath of the Wild on regular mode, hero mode, master mode, all of it. And I didn't fight all those golden littles just to have to start all over. But I guess I'm going to have to, and that's fine, because we're getting closer. We're less than 100 days away, and that's kind of why these ideas actually came up. I was watching your guys' videos last night, the Zeltec, Switch Force, Sunbro Nation, Nintendo Prime, Commonwealth, and I was watching all these fantastic, like, fan theories, ideas, and then I'll look in the comments, and I'll see that the ideas that I was thinking of have never been mentioned. Not once. Not even close. So let's get started. My first theory that hasn't even been put on the internet by anybody yet, which makes it postable. We're not going to be rehashing the same, fan theories that everyone else has put out there, and that's fine. The fan theories out there right now are fantastic, but like we all know, Nintendo has made TOTK one of the biggest mysteries of the internet right now. Like everybody online is freaking out for this. But if you look at the trailer for TOTK, where Link is flying, from island to island, you see him on this big bird platform thing, and we think that this is something so he's able to fight midair, which I think is valid. But you notice the malice coming out of Death Mountain, and the reason for this, I think, is that the Gorons are possessed. They're going to be possessed by the malice the same way that the Guardians were, and surrounding Hyrule Castle and in random spots, like the one at Zora's Domain that was defeated, but it killed a lot of Zoras. So there's the malice shooting out of Death Mountain, and I really think that the Zoras are the Zoras, the Gorons, the Ritos, and the Gerudos, they're all going to be infected by this poison. I think we're going to have to battle possessed Gorons and, the other 3 villages surrounding, because you also see this big old hurricane around Rito Village, and we think it's Mount Tabetha, the mountain near there. But I think it's Rito Village. I think it's around the Rito Village. So I think that something astronomical is going to happen to each and every one of these 4 villages that we basically used as a checkpoint before we got to the Divine Beasts in Breath of the Wild. And that's cool and all. But what I think is going to happen is we're going to have to end up fighting possessed Ritos, possessed Gorons, Gerudo, and Zoras. And that sucks because battling the Zoras and the Gorons is just not something that you ever think you're going to have to do. I mean, you're used to battling Gerudo because you go into the Gerudo Desert, you've got to battle Yiga Clan, which is already a big supporter of Ganon. But they're not possessed by anything. This is just their ideal. They just want to be Ganon's minions, and that's fine. Ganon has plenty. We fight them all. We kick their asses, you know, excuse my French. But that's just one of my main beliefs. As soon as I noticed the malice at Death Mountain, I began to start thinking that we were going to have to fight these creatures that we fought so hard to keep safe. So that's the first theory that I've had, and that's a fan theory that has yet to be discussed. My second fan theory is about the Great Plateau. Now, everybody who's played Breath of the Wild and beaten it has noticed that the Great Plateau is our starting point. We've all played Breath of the Wild at least 3 to 5 times by now. You know, we get sick of it, we go play Twilight Princess or Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, or the originals from the 80s. And I've been playing Twilight Princess for a while on GameCube. I, stopped after beating it again to play Breath of the Wild again, and I'm right in the middle of the Champions Ballad, and I was on the Great Plateau, and I was just looking for some cool shit, and I thought, the Temple of Time. It's usually ended up as a dungeon, or what we're used to seeing a dungeon in the Temple of Time. So what if the Great Plateau ends up, instead of our starting point like it was in Breath of the Wild, it's going to end up being one of our dungeons that we have to battle midair because it gets risen up just like Hyrule Castle, and we have to battle through the Temple of Time just before we can get to Ganon. Like, I feel like the 3 buildings have been rebuilt since Zelda retook her throne in Breath of the Wild, and I think that we're going to have to battle our way through those 3 temples, and those temples are going to end up separated somehow. So we're going to have all 3 of the Triforce temples, Temple of Time, and they're going to be, the Courage, Wisdom, and Power temples, and the Great Plateau has, risen up and split, and I think that's what's going to happen, and obviously this is just an idea, it's just a theory, but if that ends up happening, what if once you defeat all 3 and you get the power of the Triforce, that's how you fix your Master Sword? I know a lot of people are concerned about, saying we might have crafting, we might get blacksmiths. If you look at it, in every game we've had, we've been able to buy our weapons. Like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, we've been able to buy weapons. We haven't been able to do that in Breath of the Wild. You can only get them by finding them. There is no buying weapons. You can buy arrows. You can buy your clothes. You can get materials, but we couldn't buy our weapons. So now I'm thinking that instead of the Temple of Time just sitting there and becoming a remnant of the past, it's going to end up being the future of how we finish the game. I think that the Triforce pieces are going to be hidden within these temples, and we're going to have to defeat all 3 of them in order to regain our Master Sword. And I think that that's the reason it's going to be like that, is because if we couldn't buy weapons in Breath of the Wild, what makes us think we're going to be able to rebuild them in the newest game? The newest installment they haven't really been clear. And so that's where theories come in, and fan theories are honestly where I get most of my information. And granted, yes, they're just theories. They're theories that you need to take seriously, because these are people like myself, like Switchforce, like Sunbro, Commonwealth. We've been playing these games since the 80s. I'm 31. I've been playing these games quite literally since I could hold a controller. So 35 years of Zelda, you just have to think, is this something that could happen? Because we normally are able to buy our equipment. In Breath of the Wild, we couldn't. I think we're going to have to defeat either the Temple of Time and its 3 temples. We're going to have to defeat them to complete the Triforce to fix the Master Sword, or they're going to be the final battle before Ganon. And I think that that's something everybody should really consider. And then my final theory is more, it's based on, you know, what you've seen in the trailer as well, which is a lot of our theories are. But it's about the Twilight Princess game. And yes, how it ties into the Tears of the Kingdom. So what I think is going to happen here is the arm that is holding Ganon down in that cave that Zelda and Link find. I'm pretty sure that's Midna's arm. And the reason that she's been gone this whole time is because, you know, she said goodbye to Link in Twilight Princess. It was very sad. We miss her very much. She was my all-time favorite character in the Zelda series, obviously. And I think that her arm is what's holding down Ganon. And when it takes over Link's arm, it brings her to be a part of him. You know, in Twilight Princess, she doesn't say goodbye. She says, we'll see you later. We'll see you again. You know, so I really think that Midna is... Everybody says that Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and TOTK, they're all going to be the Triforce Trio. The Golden Trio, which, by the way, is a Harry Potter reference. But whatever. I think it's going to be Twilight Princess, TOTK, BOTW. I do not think that Skyward Sword has any more to do with this game other than, you know, the fact that we're going to be in the skies, which isn't obsolete from Twilight Princess. We've done this before. We've played this game, just not on such a vast map in such a huge area and, you know, nearly as many enemies because, let's face it, we should have kept the original Zolfos. So, honestly, these are my little ideas, and I think she's going to join our champion, and I think that Twilight Princess becomes there's a bigger picture, and Twilight Princess is going to be a part of it. The Twilight Princess becomes a part of Link, and he ends up fighting with her arm. And I think that's where his power comes from, because she had all this power. And if you play the game throughout in Twilight Princess, you understand how powerful Midna really is, even without those pieces, even without, you know, she smashes this mirror that Ganon needed the power of the Triforce to frickin' smash, you know? And she's able to just do away with it with a snap of her fingers. I think she gives Link some of her power. And I think a lot of you really need to consider this as an idea, because it's you don't see nearly as much. You see what? The sword has the voice from Skyward Sword. That's the only fan theory I've heard that makes any sense. And even then, I mean, I always thought it was Zelda's voice in the sword, but, you know, until I saw her talking to it like some freak, you know, my opinion. But I really would like to dedicate all these ideas and these fan theories to Pateick Smith. He was my late husband, and I feel like if he were here right now, he would have a lot of ideas of his own, and he would just blow you all away. He was a vapid Legend of Zelda fan. He had the Triforce on his arm. We met over the love of Zelda, and our marriage was completely built on Zelda. And he died in 2019 in a coma. But I honestly think that if he could have had it his way, he would have lived in a whole world of Zelda. He adventured, he went on the road, and instead of an ocarina, he had a guitar, but he did adventure just like Link. And I honestly think that that was his calling, and I really would like to dedicate this to Pateick. So this one's for you, baby. Love you.